they fell in love with how the classes made them feel. They fell in love with not caring what they look like, with dancing without mirrors, dancing at the side of the street, dancing with people that made mistakes and still posted it. Do it for the love, we don't do it for the likes.
Hello and welcome everybody to this week's episode of Dance Chat UK, the podcast where we delve into the vibrant world of professional dance. I'm your host Corina and I have a very, very special episode for you today. I sit down with Chelsie Innes, who is a lecturer at Creative Academy. Chelsea's talking about how she balances prepping her students for a tough industry with caring about their individual needs. We also talk about the influence of social media on young dancers and Chelsea's passion and love for dancehall. So enjoy your front row seat to this week's episode of Dance Chat UK. Hello dance friends and welcome Chelsie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. Well, it was very difficult to get you here.
Yes.
You're super busy at the moment. What are you busy with?
So I currently am head of year at a higher education dance degree course. And obviously it's the end of the academic year. So there's a lot of shows going on, a lot of exams. So just trying to, get them through their first year, second year and third year of their degree course in dance.
Sounds busy.
Yeah, it is. But then June, July and August I have off.
Yeah.
So it comes with being in higher education in university. You're either really, really hectic and busy or you've got all the free time in the world. So pros and cons.
Yeah.
I actually really like being busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you full-time employed or like on contract?
So it's on a freelance basis.
Okay.
But yeah, it turns out to be full-time most of the time because you get called in for various bits and bobs and they've always got like different projects going on, dance films and, I have employment elsewhere as well if things come in like choreographic jobs and stuff like that. But that's my main focus at the minute is the dance degree that I work on.
Yeah. We have known each other for a long time.
We go way back.
We go way back. So we used to be in this dance company together performing every weekend.
Every weekend.
And
abroad and travelling on the plane.
All of that.
Yes.
But as long as I've known you, you've been in teaching and dance education. What made you kind of choose a career in dance education over performing?
Well, I did perform. I performed for a few years after graduating from my dance degree. I actually went to the same place where I teach now at can I say? Yeah. Creative Academy name drop. I'm like, can I say the name? Yeah, give them a shout out. Big up Creative Academy. So I actually trained there and then I went to work professionally, did some tours, backing dancing, things like that. And actually my director of the course got me back to just teach like a workshop there, just like an industry-based workshop. Like, she's fresh, in the industry. And I did it and it was amazing. It was so much fun. They loved like having fresh choreography from the industry. And it went from there. I just started doing cover work there. And then eventually I loved the job. I loved the thrill. It was a completely different thrill teaching to performing. And I never thought I would do it. I really thought I'd be a performer. Even when I was at uni and they were talking about, getting different qualifications. I was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to dance. I'm going to be on stage. But I really shocked myself how much I loved it and like thrived on sharing your knowledge and like seeing other people improve. Like it was a whole different buzz to being on stage, but it was still a buzz. And then from there, I just took on more and more hours there. And eventually now I'm pretty much there full time, head of year in the office, all behind the scenes. And I think I've been there. It'll probably be coming up kind of 10 years,
That's
I would say,
time.
Involved in Creative Academy on that side of things.
And it is quite one of the newer colleges out there, right?
Yeah, we don't go way back like
anymore.
some of the other bigger ones. We have been running a while, but we've only just kind of got the establishment of being a vocational course with having like 30 in each year now. We got validated for a master's course, a foundation course. So we cover all aspects and they're just writing a musical theatre course now as well. So one of our unique selling points at Creative Academy was that we just did dance. So we got a lot of people that don't want to sing and act. But now the demand, a lot of schools are taking on a lot of people. So we are offering a musical theatre course now.
You broaden your...
Can't say I'll be teaching the singing or acting, but I'll enjoy watching their shows.
I can see you do some acting.
Yeah, acting maybe, definitely not the singing side of things. But yeah, no. So I'm looking forward to seeing that kind of join the dance course as
well.
So
you've very much seen it grow and develop and go with the times.
It's a different place to when I went there.
Yeah.
Like a different, well, I mean, we're in a different world, full stop. But we've had to move along, you know, like, for example, all the degree work used to be essays and stuff, and now it's like music videos. So like,
really?
Yeah, so like the degrees changed from being very much written work and degree based to being validated in a way where dancers can actually work on their own craft, what they're realistically going to be doing.
Yeah.
Not saying that there's not value in being able to read and write,
yeah.
but obviously where you can get a degree in doing a music video over an essay, I know what dancers are going to choose. So we're kind of moving with the times in terms of what you have to do to get a degree.
Yeah, you know, so they learn skills subject. Like music, like video editing and stuff music, like that.
Like dancing for film as well, so developing their own performance skills in dancing for camera, because obviously there's so much more of it. And since COVID, obviously doing dance films and doing assessments online and doing like videos, even when you do, you know, your show reels and applications for jobs, it's all for camera now, a lot of it. I think a lot of people in COVID discovered that auditions are easier sending in a video. I mean, they've always been a thing, but I'm sure they're much more of a thing now. So we also help the students to develop those skills that involve technology way more than we used to.
Yeah, super important, those skills, especially these
days. And it's not something that I'm that great at because we never had to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so they do less research and stuff like that.
Yeah, dance which history. Comes at it comes with its negatives, especially when it comes to actually marking their written work. Sometimes we're like, okay, we need to focus on this a bit more, because they'll absolutely do great in a music video, but then when it comes to write their written work, which you can't escape, and it's obviously an important life skill, we realise as a degree we need to keep pushing both sides of the theory and practical side of dance.
And there's always parts that are sort of admin based as a
you can't escape
dancer.
It. You can't escape it. They also have we try to do a lot of like business study skills as well. They have a course on their tax returns and how to run a business, a social media course.
Handy.
So super handy. We're trying to do a lot of things that we wish we had.
Yes.
So that we turn around and say, I wish I knew. Like some of them don't know what a tax return are, and we're like, oh, hon, you're gonna have to learn.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to learn that one.
I remember the first time I had to send an invoice, and I didn't even know what an invoice was. And somebody, like one of the older dancers on the job, he was like, invoices are gonna be your life. And I was like, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no,
I think
100%.
I just sent off my bank details and the amount and was like, can you pay me? And they were like, no, you need to actually send an invoice.
Give me money.
Like, what is that?
No, but for real, they need to learn these skills, and they're not going to escape it. You know, they're not going to escape it. Tax returns, you're going to need to know all these kind of things. And even on their dissertation, their final year that we teach, part of their degree is a show reel, an Instagram handle, their social media handles, and stuff like that. So we're not just taking in kind of practical stuff, we're seeing their social media and stuff and marking it for their degree so that they're fully equipped for the dance industry
so
after training.
They can apply.
Like jobs. They have voice reels, show reels, CV, then their social media handles and their website. So that's what all of them will at least graduate, even if they want to go into teaching or dance. They've left that with that. Oh, and we give them a portfolio, so some photos that they have a chance to have for their social media handle, and obviously emphasize the importance of having professional Instagram handle as well, rather than just you drunk on a Saturday ready for employers to look at.
Yes. And social media is so important. Like, I remember when that started to be a thing, where I had to put down my Instagram handle at auditions, and they looked at your your Instagram.
I mean, to a lot of staff, it's really foreign to us. It's alien to have to do that. But we have to constantly move with the times and get fresh kind of practitioners in to do workshops to really see what's going on, because like you said, it happened suddenly, but it happened quickly. Like it just went straight out, and now, you know, it's so important. But for us who didn't have to do that, we have to try and keep up with what's important and with all that social media emphasis.
It was always either to check if you're like clean and PG for like, because I worked for like Legoland and you know, for companies like that, or they wanted you to have a big following. Like I remember when I joined like a cheerleading squad, or if you do like an advert for like a smaller company, they want you to have a big following. So
definitely, it's business, isn't it? Even when I have to employ someone to do a workshop or something like that, like I look at their handle and see, and I will probably go with someone with a bigger following, because you're trying to get your own name out there, and if they share, then it's just business, isn't it? So it's really, really important. I think it comes with its negatives as well. With all that emphasis, it's finding the balance between being real and preparing them for life, and also preparing them for the dance industry, because the dance industry, I find, lately it's become a little bit more, it's a facade, isn't it? Sometimes like it's not the real deal, like it's not real life. And like you want to prepare them for like the reality of going out into the dance industry and life, but at the same time you got to have them keep up with the demand of social media and this performance and act that people have to constantly put on to be business and a product that's employable, you know?
Because it's social media is one thing, and sort of what social media puts out there is one thing, but then what it's really like to be a dancer is completely
I say it all the time.
thing.
Yeah, I say it to my students all the time. I'm like, you know them relationships where they wear matching pajamas in front of the Christmas tree
Yeah.
and they pretend that they're a happy family, but really, you know, he's cheating on her every weekend.
Yeah.
The dance world's like that, you know? They might put this perfect, clean routine on, but really it took them 28 attempts to get it and 7 days a week training, and they still didn't get it perfect, and then they edit it at the end anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Like sometimes a friend of mine comes back from a contract and I've seen all the amazing pictures and I'm like, oh my God, you've been wherever and looked like an amazing experience. Like, how was it? And they're like, no, it was awful.
Oh, all the time.
Bad company, shit conditions. Like,
all the time.
And I'm
no one's going to post that,
okay,
are they?
No.
No one's going to post that yet. The whole of social media, 90% of the time, want to show the world that they're doing great. That's human nature. You want to show off the good stuff in life and don't want to talk about the bad. And it's no different for the dance world.
Yeah. Do you feel like it actually influences dance styles? Like the way we dance and present ourselves?
Oh, 100%. One thing I laughed at the other day is when I was teaching, the students can wear anything they want for this class, and they all turned up almost in matching outfits. And they were like, and I was like, why are you all wearing black combats and black long baggy clothes?
That was literally what I pictured when you said they all turned
black
up
combats, same trainers, same everything. They all looked identical. And I was like, did you guys plan this? They were like, no. They could have worn anything.
Yeah.
So like in regards to what you said about informing the way you dance, but it also informs the way that you present yourself and how like your image and your product. Like when I was at uni, we never had that. I mean, you had the goth, you had the burlesque looking dancer, you had the chavvy one and all these different words, and everyone had their own style, their own vibe. They'd have the red lipstick and the pale face and have the dark eyes and this, and they'd have the belly tops and the hot pants, and you have the hip hop dancer. Like we all look like misfits, but it just worked and we we're all really close.
Yeah.
But now it's like copy and paste because you've got constant reference to what you should look like and how you should present and what success looks like. So you try and imitate that as much as you can.
Yeah.
And in turn, it's going to completely take away the creativity and individuality of everyone. And I think that's, if we talk about the detriment of social media on dance and its style, like that's a huge one for me that I've observed working in higher education for the past 10 years, is just the cloning of everyone and the sucking out of individuality and creativity.
Which is not a good thing, is it?
Well, it's not what dance is about.
No, it's not. And also you want to stand out. So you want to fit in to a degree, but at the end of the day, at an audition or when you go for work, you need to be right for that sort of...
Yeah.
If there's 100 others who look exactly like you, that's not
but they don't
thing.
But the fashion trends and the dancing fashion trends are so strong that trumps that kind of viewpoint of looking different. And even when someone tries to look different, if they post it on social media, all their following are going to start copying. So it never actually works. Looking different is never going to work as long as you're sharing your look with the world. There's everyone's going to copy and it's just going to become a trend. Even I do the same thing. I'm wearing combats today. I wouldn't have worn combats before, but I know it's what's in the shops and I know what everyone's wearing. It makes me feel cool wearing it because you're keeping up with current trends. So it completely changes. And I used to do hip hop and commercial styles we used to wear like Aztec leggings. I don't know if you remember those days. Aztec leggings, maybe some different color Air Force ones, a belly top. That's perfectly fine to dance hip hop in, but or commercial styles, but now it's like the baggier the better.
Yeah.
If you ask some of the younger girls, like maybe they're about 18 to 21 in higher education, so to wear like a belly top or what, it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem. They want to wear baggy clothes, they want to feel, that kind of energy. And I'm just like, but that doesn't change the way you dance. It's the mindset, right?
Yeah.
Of how it
and
makes
also,
them feel.
when you go into an audition, people want to see how you look. Like they want to see your body. Like I remember we used to go in fishnet tights and like little dance pants and crop tops, like basically naked.
Yeah.
On one side, I like that they can wear baggy clothes in certain classes.
Definitely,
because I remember being at dance college, having to be in tight fitting clothes all day, looking at myself in the mirror all day, and it can really put you in a spin with like eating disorders and body image, you know, body dysmorphia and all of that. So it's nice that they can wear baggy clothes in certain classes, but then in others like ballet and jazz, where you have to correct somebody's lines and stuff, do they still need to be in leotards? Is it still like that? Or
yeah, I mean, our uniform is leotards and tights for jazz, but there is a handful of students we have to let that go with and prioritize their mental health and their body image over that. So,
but I really like that.
Yeah, we will prioritize that. Like if they come and say they're not comfortable with it, then that's fine. And again, that comes to the balance. Like, where do you go? Well, actually, no, that's the uniform. This is the dance stuff. This is the industry you've chosen. No, and where do you say, actually, you know, we want to protect you, we want to support you, and on this occasion, and until you feel better, until whatever, you can wear this. But then where do you draw the line? So we're very much toying with that at the minute, is showing support, but also being realistic.
Yeah.
You know, there's not many jobs you can go in and say, don't feel like wearing that uniform today, it shows off too much. They'll be like, okay, get out then, that's our uniform.
Yeah, and I mean, I've certainly been in that situation where I had to, I do Brazilian samba.
Yeah.
Showing everything. So there was definitely, when I'm on my period, I don't feel like putting on a thong.
Yeah.
Just having everything out. Yeah, but it's your job. That's what you hired for. That's the costume they want you to wear.
When you're working with young people, you have to support them, especially, you know, this day and age. I guess it was less recognised back in the day to support mental health and things like body dysmorphia and body image, but you also have to be realistic and say, well, if you don't want to wear this in here, how on earth can you choose this industry to go to? Because you certainly can't choose a costume when you're on tour.
Yeah.
So I think what we really need to look at is, like, before that happens, why are they not feeling confident?
Yeah.
Why do they feel like they need to look a certain way? Why is this such an emphasis on young people?
But I feel like you can choose a little bit what side of the industry you go into and what you might have to wear. Obviously, if you're a showgirl, you might not wear much. But then if you are more of like a commercial dancer or a contemporary dancer, then the costumes are probably a bit more flowy, or you know. And I do really like that you support your students' mental health and you let them wear something more baggy if they have problems
100%,
with their body. I mean, for me, it would have already been enough if I could wear a little skirt in ballet, you know, like
just a little.
It's just extra. When you're a teenager, especially. How old are the students?
Well, they're around 18 to 21, but
okay, so a little bit older.
Yeah, but we found obviously since COVID, it's kind of, it's almost like they're younger because they've missed out on a big chunk of development.
Right, interesting.
And I know across the board in higher education in particular, we've noticed collectively that they're coming in a lot like younger and a bit less experienced, getting a bit more homesick, a little bit behind on certain developmental things because they were locked up in those years, right? So there's had a huge impact in mental health and developmental, like whether that's independence, self-confidence. It's really, blame COVID on everything, but we can't deny the existence of the impact it had on young people, and it's been really prevalent in the schools.
The people who graduated during those years, who were like second and third years during lockdown, did it impact their start into their careers, like 100%. Finding jobs and stuff? Can you see that?
100%, because you missed out. You know, when you train, you don't just train physically, you train mentally. And without that intensive training, we did what we could within the rules and like everyone else did, but they were missing out on that intense timetable. They were missing out on the support, that one-on-one support in class, that one-to-one teaching. There's only so much you can do on Zoom, you know, but that like physical demonstration, that interaction, all their showcases that they would have had, their experiences performing, live performances was taken away. You know, they got very confined to a space and limited to working with the camera, and then all of a sudden they've gone to these auditions full of people, and you know, it makes you a bit of out of touch with reality and what there is out there, right? So it massively impacted them without a doubt.
Wow. Going back to social media and how that impacts the dance training, I get a feeling that everything these days is very sort of immediate, and you want to get the likes. And obviously we all know that a sexy heels routine is going to get more likes than if you do like a chassé pas de bourrée and a pirouette, you know, showing off your technique.
Exactly.
Does that influence what the students put effort into? Like,
without a doubt. I mean, there's this notion of filming all classes now, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the class, even I do it. At the end of the class, you can get your phones and you can get the footage at the end of the
even at dance college.
Even at dance college, most classes you film it. I would never do that in teaching ballet.
Yeah,
I teach ballet sometimes, and I would never be like, right, get your phone up, because I know they probably won't like seeing technique as such, and they won't post any of it anyway. So I more likely would ask them to film things that they're probably going to post and look back at and feel confident in. There's an element of like exposure to the dance school with posting it, but also an element of their confidence. When you do heels, when you do commercial, there's just this energy in the room that doesn't necessarily have with ballet. And I think it's because it's popular, it's cool, it's empowering for the dancers.
I mean, you can learn a lot from seeing yourself on camera. Like sometimes you feel like you've killed it, and then you watch it back, and you're like, "Oh, actually, I could do this." And
that's what I promote.
Or the other way around, you feel like you've messed it up, and actually you look quite good.
Yeah, that's what I promote when I ask them to film my classes. Is I'm like, look back at it. You might want to look in 3 years' time and see where you've developed, or you might want to look immediately after class and say, actually, I could have worked better. Or you might want to look at someone else and say, how did they do that? And like, learn from each other, learn from filming it. But bottom line is they want to post it as well. So they're going to do it quite often in classes. I walk past and there's a class with all like the LED lights on and the lights all turned down, and that's just a regular training class.
So you have all that set up?
We have all that set up. We have cameras on site. We have an in-house videographer. And anytime you hear like a good class coming on, the videographer will just pop out. This is day-to-day life, and just see if he can capture.
You have an in-house videographer?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's there every day. So if even I have a video from the other day, I was doing a class, and the director, just a normal commercial class, and the director walked past me, I love that choreography. Oh, Friday, let's go over and do it for film. Go over the park. It's a nice park. And sure enough, Friday afternoon came, the videographer was there. It was just a normal class, and all the students were dressed up, and we went over to the park, and we turned, like a 40-second routine into a dance film in like 20 minutes, and it was posted on social media.
I mean, that's great, but doesn't that put a lot of pressure on the students to always be on?
Yeah.
You can't have a bad day.
Yeah, no,
not feeling yourself.
You can't. I mean, it's business, making sure that you've got footage and engagement online. It's what students want to post as well. And yeah, I think it's just all in all got its good points and bad points. I definitely feel like the emphasis on social media and the importance of posting has completely changed dance and the way people do it. Like, one of the reasons I massively was attracted to Jamaican dance hall was because it gears away from this doing it for the likes all the time. Like, if they make one mistake in our country or doing commercial dance, they won't post it. And if they don't get enough likes in an hour, they'll delete it. And I'm like, what validation are you seeking? Like, what are you trying to do here? Whereas when I travel and go to other countries, it just really ignites my passion for dance again, because I feel like it's sucked out a bit over here, because the need for perfection and the need for social media. And it's like not like, I love bass class. I think studio classes are great, but they get dressed up, they go, they pay their money, they get the video at the end of it, and they post it, and they get all these likes, and they do it again. And I'm like, that's great training, that's great pressure, but it's also not employing you.
Yeah.
It's not making you employable.
Yeah, speaking of making somebody employable, like, dance college is here to teach you technique and obviously performance and everything that you need as a dancer. And then for me, in my head, it's like you do the 3 years or 4 years course, whatever, and then at the end, you should make a video and put it out there and say, like, this is the dancer I am now. But if everything along the way is already filmed and recorded, as you said, it's great to look back and see what progress you've made. But in a way, it's like a lot of time is spent doing those videos instead of training to prepare you for
it's priorities have changed, isn't it? The needs, we also, in the third year of uni, they can choose a project to do. And it used to be putting on festivals and showcases and this. About 3 of my students this year alone, their project is becoming an influencer.
Wow.
That's their project on a dance degree. So the priority of actually being noticed online, if it's in dance or not in dance, has really become a stronger priority for young people than succeeding in it becomes their passion.
Yeah.
You know?
How realistic do you think is getting a job through social media?
Well, I mean, it's becoming increasingly, earning money from TikTok posts and Instagram is becoming increasingly easier. You know, there's people with content out there making thousands and thousands and thousands a week. We all know this. So that's very attractive to young people, full stop, no matter what industry they're in. And we all know that, you know, dance training is hard and it doesn't always financially pay off in the end. So if they can use their dancer personality to gain an audience online, it's not only in the industry that you like, but it's fast. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a lot more money and financial beneficial than going on a tour or going on the West End even.
Yeah.
So even the top end of our jobs can't compete with the financial gain and the validation that they get from becoming a successful influencer. And you don't, I'm not going to pretend I'm a professional in being an influencer, but, you know, from what I've seen, you just need to do what they love anyway, post videos and keep active and keep the content going out and engage with an audience. I mean, that's what they love doing already.
Yeah.
So this posting thing, it just intertwines with their training.
Yeah.
You know?
But in my experience, I don't have a big social media following at all, but I've never gotten a job through social media.
No.
You know, at the end of the day, you still have to go to the castings and the auditions and make contacts and be out there.
Yeah, this is exactly what I say to them as well. Like, there's a fake sense of reality on social media. Like I said, becoming an influencer is one thing, but if you want to become a dancer, you can have all the followings that you want, but at the end of the day, they're not the people employing you. They're not the casting directors, and they're the ones that are going to keep money coming in your bank.
Yeah, it's a little bit like a portfolio. I get that, but you have to balance the time you spend and the energy you spend on your social media versus
100%.
your actual training and writing emails and sending out your CV and, you know.
Yeah, like I was saying before, you know, if you want to become an influencer and you want to make money from content, then that's becoming way more attractive to young people. However, if you want to succeed in the dance industry in real life off the internet, then these are all the things that I promote as well. Like, you've got to meet people in real life. You've got to network. Because I notice as well, when I get people in for workshops, if there's someone with a big following, the students, they wear their makeup, they wear their heels, they wear their best outfits, they come out. But that person is not going to ever employ them. They've just got a big following because they've got good content and they've got a high engagement. However, a casting director from one of the top cruise ships comes, they might have 800 followers on Instagram, but they can make sure you have money in your bank for the next 8 years.
Yeah.
And I go in and they don't treat the class the same. They don't treat the class with the importance and the emphasis on being noticed because they don't have a big following. Who are they?
Yeah.
You know, there's a massive, massive, massive emphasis on following and in relation to how important you are. And I constantly remind young people that means nothing when it comes to employability and who really matters to network with.
Exactly. I was just going to say, then it's up to you teachers to get them reality checked.
Yeah, we try. Yeah. We try, but it is sometimes fighting a losing battle because you're not talking their language. Like 18 to 21-year-olds now have a different language. Okay. And it's just like, I don't know if you remember when you were younger and someone would say, an older person would be like, you wait till you're older, you'll realise this, and you in your head you think, all right.
No, honestly, I always used to believe it.
Oh, yeah, you did.
No, I did, because I always felt like, well, they have more experience than me. But I know that today's youth, they're very confident. Like, maybe there's all this, like, anxiety and, you know, whatever, but not whatever, obviously, it's serious. Yes. But a lot of them are very confident, and it's a great thing if you're confident in this industry, but also you can learn something from all the dancers.
We know that,
like, teachers.
But I remember when I was your age, and I used to think, whatever, you're old, what do you know? And I feel, when I'm talking now, I feel like they're thinking the same thing. Yeah. Like, I'm like, I know you don't want to hear it, I know you don't do, but I feel like they're looking at me like, yeah, whatever. But I know what I'm saying is right, and I know they'll learn one day. Yeah. But I remember someone older than me saying it, and I didn't care what it was. They were speaking a different language.
Yeah. For you as a teacher, what makes somebody a good student? Where you look at them and you think they're gonna make it?
I guess it's mindset over talent. 100%. I mean, talent helps, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's this acknowledgement, you know, that you can always learn, you can always better yourself. It's the mindset, you know, it's the openness, ready to absorb all information. There's some people that really I keep blaming social media for everything, but they let this tunnel vision run their mindset. And the ones that I think will succeed and I get along with best and I see the potential in are the ones that are just open to learning all styles, they're open to all walks of life, and they give everything their all because they don't know better. They don't think they know better.
Yeah.
Whereas there's a common theme with young people that, you know, they know what they want to do already, and they're not open to actually anything can happen in your life. You can take any turn. Let's not close anything off. So it's those people that are just willing to just give everything a try while they're training.
Yeah.
And then obviously they can channel that when they graduate and when they find out. But some people come in with a mindset, what do I want to do? Don't want to work hard in ballet. Don't want to work hard in modern. I want to twerk. Yeah. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And they shut off. And when we get in the staff room, one teacher's favourite student that works really hard for them is another one's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
And it's because of the energy that they're projecting in the room, because they're not willing to just, and I constantly say, guys, don't shut anything off. But often, now another thing I've observed, often it's a confidence issue. They don't dislike ballet. They just don't think they're as good at it. So it comes across as an attitude.
They're not going to ever use it because
it comes across as this attitude of, I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to work hard. Don't really care. Because quite often they want to sabotage it for themselves rather than be told they're not good enough. It's quite a common mindset. And I'm sure
but even if you're not going to be a ballet dancer, and I guess not to say anything bad about creatives, but it's not a ballet school, is it? No. Like most people are not going to end up in the Royal Ballet.
We don't promote yourself as one.
So it's just about getting the technique, and even if you're going to be a commercial dancer, having that technique is going to help you. Like you never know what choreography you're going to come across, or what is going to be the next kind of style, especially in commercial. It's always changing. So there might be a commercial choreographer who actually has a big ballet background,
of course,
and they might mix it, and then you might be able to do that a little bit better.
There's such competition becoming a dancer that the more styles that you cover and the more styles that you're confident at, the better. Like they're going to employ someone that can do all three styles over someone that's just expert in one, aren't they? It's more employable. So, I mean, we say that a lot, but I think it comes down to not being confident in those styles, and they have this like quite often people shut things off. They think, I'm not good at that. I don't want to work hard because I don't want to fail.
Yeah. So for you, it's more of a mindset than
100%
than actually.
Yeah, just that openness.
I mean, in my experience, as you know, I'm a very versatile dancer, and that's always helped me. You know, one company would recognize me for one style, but then actually I ended up working for them in other styles as well. And I'm not the best dancer in those styles, but because I had that contact, because they knew me, they would hire me for that as well. So that always helps. Yeah. There are a lot of dance colleges in the UK. Like being from Switzerland, I remember when I wanted to study dance, I think there was one degree course in Switzerland.
Oh, really?
Or they even had to fight to get it approved because Switzerland felt like we don't need dancers, or we can hire them from abroad. I don't know. But in the UK, obviously, there's tons. Do you think there's too many dancers getting trained?
Yes. I mean, it makes it harder the more people that are out there. However, they're businesses as well. You know, I keep saying that they're businesses. They don't always have dancers' success in mind. Some dance colleges, they have 300, 400 a year. And you can't possibly train them all successfully and attentively, but you can take their money to fund the course. So it's a business like with anything, you know. Tesco, Asda, Waitrose, M&S all exist alongside each other. They still get the customers. It's the same with dance schools. It's not necessarily the dancer's best interest to be one of 300 in a year. But those who make it.
What happens to the ones who don't make it? Like, would you say it's still worth studying dance, even if you're not going to work as a dancer?
One thing I always promote to my students is success is happiness, and it's not being in the West End or being on the best cruise ship or being on the best world tour that you can go on. Like, there's plenty of people doing those jobs that are really unhappy, and I would not call that successful. Yeah. So for me, it is definitely worth doing a degree in something you're passionate about, because even if you don't get that world tour that you were hoping to get, the skill set and the things that you learn about yourself in a degree course for me doesn't compare to any other. You know, you learn team building, you learn resilience, you learn discipline, you learn life skills. And even if you turn around, you become accountant at the end of it. You know, you still got these life skills that you can take with you forever. And I don't see many other degree courses, full stop, that can teach you the things that a dance degree can. And at the end of the day, you can still be successful and happy in a career that's completely foreign to the dance world. But the skill sets that you learn, the friendships you made on the way, the things you learn about your body, your mind, what you can cope with, having like I said, discipline, is only going to be things that you can carry forward. So I think it's definitely worth, if you love dance, I think it's worth doing your degree in dance, because at the end of the day, you still have a degree out of it, and you can still have this array of skills that can help you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I also think doing something that you're really passionate about is hard.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You have to push through, and it affects you way more if something doesn't go well.
It's true, but it's easier to push through with your passion than with something that, you know, you're not, it's the passion that will drive you through those times. So you'll still hit those speed bumps in a course that you're not passionate in, but you won't have the passion to overcome those speed bumps.
Yeah, so definitely. But dance obviously teaches you a lot, like as you said, about your body, which we only have one, and we need to look after it. And then in a dance degree course, you learn how to look after it. Yeah. And creativity, which you can use in any job.
Yeah, and you make friends for life, as we know. Yeah. Testimony to that. Like, you know, you put you wear your heart, like you put your heart and soul out there when it comes to dance. When it comes to dance training, you know, you dance about controversial topics, you get asked to express your emotions, you have to physically touch each other to lift. I mean, you get close to friends, you know, like I don't imagine they, you know, do that on a maths degree. I'm not sure though, but you know, there's intimacy beyond physical touch and emotional connections that you make with people that you would never make anywhere else, you know. And like some of my best friends in the world are through dance and through dance degrees and through dance companies, because you spend so much time together and you in vulnerable spaces, and no one will know you like your dance friends, you know. You talk about things only dancers will know and accept and will be socially acceptable to say out loud. It's just such an open, free, creative space that I think, you make friends for life doing that as well. Yeah.
What do you see students struggle with, like young people these days? I know you mentioned that you have to have a sort of counselor on.
Yeah. So mental health, without a doubt, is something that has definitely, it's been eye-opening for me being head of year, because when I wasn't head of year, I was just turning up in the dance studio, teaching my 5, 6, 7, 8 and going home. And now as head of year, my duty is to support them on their journey in the degree. So that entails a lot more support with mental health than I can ever imagine. And I'm very, very fortunate that I've never suffered with mental health issues. So it's been a challenge for me to sympathize with well-being issues, because I was very much of the mindset like, oh, suck it up and get on with it. You know, and that's how I was raised, and that was the dance industry I was in. So, you know, now it's great that we're supporting mental health issues, but I've had to learn how to support it, what to say, what not to say, how we can aid development in dance, but also protect mental health. I have weekly one-to-ones with students in my year group that suffer with mental health. And that, when I say one-to-ones, I mean sitting down like this, almost like in a counsellor session. We also have an on-site listening service and an on-site counsellor. Which we've never had to have that kind of employment before, right? Because it's a dance degree. But now, I mean, I don't want to put a percentage on it, but a massive percentage of students need mental health support. That comes in the form of anxiety, depression, and panic attacks mostly. I think most days someone will have a panic attack at the uni. Pretty much every day. There'll be someone in a year group that runs out of the classroom and needs help with a panic attack. Also, there's a lot of people kind of on antidepressants and stuff. You have to support if they're changing their medication and trying to find what works for them. Sometimes it can make them a bit absent-minded in the class and like tap out of focus a little bit. So it's my job to kind of support that and be informed if they're changing medication and what they need to have to support it. And then I can let other teachers know, look, don't slap their wrists and send them out like we would train to do. Yeah. They're actually having a really bad day and they're actually changing medication and we need to support that, or they're going through something right now. Yeah. So on top of having the counsellor, listening service and the advisor on site, we also have a WhatsApp group for teachers. So we don't necessarily name people, but we can just say, oh, just be aware, blah, blah's having a bad day today. They're not, being rude. They're just, etc. So we can keep everyone in the loop because otherwise loads of freelance dance teachers, we're going to treat every class like an individual basis, and then you don't know what that one person is going through on their day-to-day life at training. And so it's all about supporting people and acknowledging. We also all did a mental health training course in COVID. All the teachers did.
That's so good.
It was just advised that we do it, and we all decided we definitely need to do that now and be made aware of what's happening and how we cope.
Dance college seems like the perfect time to learn about your mental well-being and how to handle that, because when you go out in the real world, it's not gonna get any easier.
No.
So I feel like it should come along your dance training, like your dance technique training, and to know how to keep yourself sane and well. And so
we also have a wellbeing week where we have a whole week of workshops and have external professionals come in, because you've also got to acknowledge, as a dance teacher, most of us are not trained in mental health. There's only so much advice and so much support you can give. I mean, as far as my help extends to, it's how we can support them on the degree, giving them extensions, being a listening ear to them, making sure everybody knows what they're going through. But it stops there, right? So a lot of people have to get their own kind of therapy outside of things and stuff like that. So we have to facilitate the time for people. If someone comes up and says they've got a therapy session on this, they need to miss this class, then of course that's the priority, right? But like you said, it's a time to learn now about your mental health, because if you decide to do that in a job, you might not be able to pay your rent that month. So you've got that financial implications of missing things and not turning up to things and letting your mental health kind of consume your everyday life. So it's definitely a learning curve for teachers and students in higher education at the minute.
You teach technique and jazz and stuff, but you also teach dancehall. Your first passion is dancehall.
My first
passion
is dancehall. My first passion socially was dancehall music. My first kind of passion dancing was actually ballet, tap, modern and jazz, so polar opposites to the style of dancehall. Dancehall is something I've been into since about 11, 12 years old as a music genre. So socially, parties, listening to it in my own time and stuff like that. But yes, it's recently been a massive part of my career.
Yeah, so you turned that interest that you had socially into part of your dance career. Yeah,
so basically I've always had a extreme love for dancehall music socially. And obviously my dance training and that were different worlds, right? Because I grew up as a ballet dancer, so I kept them very separate until my first trip to Jamaica when I was 17. I stayed there for a long time, and I suddenly realised what it was all about. When you go to the streets of Jamaica, it's just popping with music and dance and the love for it. And I fell in love with the actual dance style a lot more then. And then since then, over the past kind of 10 to 15 years, I guess, I'm trying to calculate how old I am. I won't do it right now on the podcast. But yeah, I've been traveling to and from Jamaica and really started to, I would say probably the last 5 years more than anything, been taking proper classes in Jamaica because of the highlight of cultural appropriation and the conversations surrounding exploring dance styles outside of your own culture and knowing how to navigate that. When you have this raw passion for something that's outside of your own culture, your natural desire is to go towards it, right? But there's always that resistance when it comes to talking about race and culture and what you can and can't do and how to respectfully approach it. So I think I've found myself over the last 5 years with where I fit in with that topic, if that makes sense. Whereas before I'd keep it separate and obviously back in the day, the conversation around cultural appropriation and race and dance styles was very different. Then we got to this era where it was if you are not from this place, you can't do this and you can't wear this and you can't do your hair like this. And I actually did my master's about 5 years ago. And that's where I really delved into dancehall. And that's where I did my topics. And my research paper was on cultural appropriation within dancehall and where the line of cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation is crossed.
Yeah.
And it was that course there that really shaped my views and informed kind of how I bring dancehall into, so my passion into my career, which was dance technique.
Yeah. I mean, this is a super interesting topic, which I'm also confronted with doing, as I mentioned earlier, Brazilian samba, I do a lot of salsa, bachata, like all these cultural dances.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing, going to Jamaica, is the first and very super important point, right?
Yeah.
Of being appreciative of the dance style and the culture, knowing where it's from, putting money into the culture by going there, taking classes by those teachers there, right?
So first of all, in order to make sure you're not appropriating anything, you've got to educate yourself. Yeah. I was lacking in education with it. I was like, what's wrong with doing that? What's wrong with doing this? You know, that you don't, if it's not in your immediate environment and other people's, because our own experiences are still surrounded by people with similar experiences, right? Like you can do as much research as you want, you have as many friends from different countries as you want and stuff, but ultimately your own opinion is informed by who's around you. Even if you research on the internet, your whole internet algorithms are factored to your existing views.
Yeah.
You know, so even if you think you do your research, it still is catered towards your own country and your own surroundings and your own environment and what you already think and you already do. So it just, quite often than not, it informs your existing views, right? Like it reinforces, sorry.
Yeah.
So the best way to do it is traveling. Another passion of mine is traveling. I've been to probably about 60 countries and I make sure that I delve into like music and dance to all of them. And I think when I went to Jamaica and started delving into dance hall there, not necessarily as a dancer, but just as an observer, I really, really found out the meaning of cultural appropriation and saw firsthand the detrimental effect of cultural appropriation on cultures and why there's sensitivity surrounding it, right? Because you would have a lot of dancers, not just from England, from Sweden, Germany, Russia. They go over to Jamaica. They would learn the styles for free quite often back in the day, you know, watching the steps in the street parties and stuff like that. And then they'd go home. And obviously dancehall culture comes from poorer communities, right? That's where it's from. So they would come back into their wealthy worlds and they would teach it and they would sell out classes of 20, 30 people who are paying £10 a head, make £300 off dancehall culture. And really they watched it once and no one knows where it's come from. No one. And then also the style gets completely Chinese whispered and changed. Yeah. So now all of a sudden people are paying money to this one random girl who went to Jamaica one time and the style's completely changed. And you've got to remember, like, this is why I said it reinforced my love for and passion for dance, because dance hall is not just about the movement and looking good. It's a feeling, it's a culture, it's a spiritual experience. When you have a dance hall class, they will tell you the name of the step, where they were when they came up with it, what made them come up with it, what they experienced that day to make this finger point that way and this head go that way. And it's very, very cultural and spiritual, right? So for someone from a foreign country to just watch it, go and teach it and make a lot of money from it without giving credit, without anybody acknowledging where it's come from, and these people don't even know how they're going to eat that day. Yeah. That's the real issues with cultural appropriation. Yeah.
The people there, did you find them being aware of this problem? Like, are they aware that other people in other countries teach
They are
dance?
100% more aware now. Yeah. Because of social media exposing it, right? And conversations having it. There's actually a big movement in Jamaica that's been taking place the last few years in regards to making sure you are paying the dancers well for their classes. You're making sure you're crediting every step that you use and making sure that, you know, the light is shone on the pioneers of the thing. But that never used to be the case. Yeah. You know, it's just now they've got an alliance now where they're like, right, let's preserve our culture, let's preserve its authenticity, and let's make sure everyone knows the real dancehall, where it comes from, and they get their credit for it. So they have strict rules now. They have like a dancehall alliance in Jamaica, and you know they all charge the same for their classes. So they set a standard and say, if you want to learn, this is the price, and it's more than here, right? Like they've set their price and said, we're gonna get payback.
But that's good 100%, because they know that people who go to Jamaica to learn dancehall, they're probably the people who are going to go back to the countries and make money off it.
Yeah, so they're making sure they've paid for this course, like if you're going to learn. So they all got a set fee. No dancer, I've never known a dance teacher to drop below that fee in the past 5 years or so. So they make sure that you're paying. They also make sure that they come for anybody that doesn't credit them. You know, it's a family. It's called Dancehall Family Tree, actually, Dancehall Alliance. So they make sure that they're preserving their culture as best they can. But it's quite a new movement, really, in the grand scheme of things, considering dancehall's been influenced in the dance world for a very long time. I mean, you can see dancehall being used. Chris Brown uses dancehall often, and I mean specific steps that belong to dancehall practitioners. You have, obviously, Royal Family are a massive commercial group. They massively use dancehall.
Yeah.
Obviously, people with Caribbean heritage, such as Rihanna, Beyonce, I mean, no one would know that's a dance step. I watched it sometimes infuriated myself and was like, that's a dance step. I know the person that created that.
Yeah.
And no one knows, you know? And so now it's a really huge community mission to shine light on that. And you would never know or experience that unless you went to Jamaica yourself, unless you went to the countries of the origins yourself. So I know not everybody's blessed enough to travel, and I know I'm fortunate too, and like you're fortunate to go to the countries of the styles that you study. But if you can go, that is where you're really going to learn the difference between appreciating and appropriating.
Yeah.
You know, I know people that make money off of dance hall, and I saw them in Jamaica, went to Jamaica with them, and they didn't know anything about the culture, not one thing. You know, it's like, how can you not know about the culture, but you're making money off the dance steps that bleed the culture into? You know, how can you possibly teach a style if you have no idea where the style comes from or what goes into developing this style of dance? And that's why it's so frustrating for the people over there. And you don't educate yourself on that unless you actually go yourself, right? So that's why when people say to me, are you a dancehall dancer or a dancehall teacher? I say no. I will say, I love it. It's my passion. I know a lot about it, but here's a real dancehall teacher. Yeah. Here's a real dancehall teacher. For me, they have to be authentic to the style, you know? And I'll bring, so at Creative Academy where I teach, there's a course called Commercial Fundamentals. A module called Commercial Fundamentals. And one of the styles that I've made sure is in there is obviously dancehall. They also do hip hop and house and Vogue and heels, but one of them is dancehall. And so what I've orchestrated, instead of me saying, and I can teach a lot of dancehall steps, I've been training in dancehall for a long time, I can more than happy relay what I know.
Yeah.
But we've been doing weekly Zoom classes with Jamaica.
That's amazing.
So every class, there's someone, you know, one of my friends, one of the pioneers of dancehall in their yard with their cats and dogs. I'm talking about someone in particular. And just fresh from the street party, and Mards, big up Mards from Ocean Wave. So he will be. They'll teach, and you know they'll do a great job. And they learn. They don't just learn the style, right? They learn like the environment that they're in, like where they live, and you know the Jamaican patois, which is a massive part of the culture and the music, and they learn what the music's saying fluently. On my CV is my second language. So they learn so much about these Zoom calls, and also I obviously give them the money for teaching. So we're making this international connection here.
That's great.
And I'm facilitating it with my passion, but also it's a win-win-win, right? They get an authentic experience. The Jamaicans get their exposure and their payment, and I get to experience the joy of my passion, like all in one room from Jamaica to England. So Zoom has been a blessing. One thing COVID did do was bring like this kind of experience over Zoom, really good. And then also I have brought in face-to-face people that are on tour and stuff like that. But unfortunately, not all Jamaicans have the privilege to travel. So these Zoom calls have been really, really great weekly classes. And it's just been good for the students to get an authentic experience and really see the passion. Even though it's not face-to-face, you can feel it through the screen.
Yeah, definitely.
And it gives them an insight onto and retains the authenticity of the style. Because even if I teach them, I'm going to do something slightly different.
Obviously, super important to do it as it's intended, knowing the history, knowing the culture and stuff. Do you feel like there is room for fusions and for a dance style to develop? Because I saw that a lot in salsa, obviously. Started in Cuba, but the way it's danced all over the world is not the original style anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's developed. It's now more from like New York and, you know.
Yeah. No, I think
completely
there's
different.
definitely a place for fusion. I mean, dance is creative. There's no rules, right? Like, where it's expressive. It's where people come together. So I don't see the harm in fusing styles together. The harm comes when you don't call it for what it is.
Yes.
Right? So if I do a fusion piece that's highly inspired by dancehall, that's what it is.
Yeah.
If one of my students accidentally calls it a dancehall piece, I'm straight on the phone to them and say, that is not dancehall. Yes, there's about 5 dancehall steps, but it's massively fused with commercial influence.
Yeah.
And I think there's a place for that because, you know, that's what dance is. It's experimenting, it's mixing, it's coming together, it's fusing. But calling it for what it is pivotal. Like, it's so important to call it fusion because what happens is you say that's dancehall and it's not. Someone else is going to learn it. It's not. Before you know, it's so far away from its origins. It's not even dancehall anymore. You know, take something
and they still call it that.
That's the problem.
I think
the problem.
Especially
call it for what it is.
I think especially when you teach classes, be really careful what you call your class.
Definitely.
Like, what is it actually? And if you call it something, you need to know everything about that style and where it's from.
There's this label at the minute that some people call is commercial dancehall, and it's massively condemned by the dancehall industry. And a lot of people say, why? I've had students say, why? And I'm like, because what does commercial mean? What does commercial actually mean? Like, look at the word commercial. Them two don't belong in a sentence together. Commercial means it's forever changing. It generates an income. It keeps up with pop culture. It's socially relevant. And you can't possibly keep something up with pop culture, socially relevant, generating an income and forever changing if it's dancehall. Because dancehall isn't that. Dancehall comes from a spiritual, organic experience that can't keep up with pop culture, and they're different worlds. So by calling something commercial dancehall, it's no longer dancehall anymore then. Because everything that dancehall stands for, it cannot coexist with the word commercial. Right? So the message that it's sending by calling it commercial dancehall is detrimental to the preservation of styles, right? So absolutely take influences from dancehall. In my opinion, there might be people that disagree, but what's detrimental is not calling it for what it is. And I think that's what your students are then going to go, oh yeah, commercial dancehall. And then all of a sudden, what is dancehall anymore then? What is it? If you can, you know, do one step and then fuse it with all this other stuff and call it dancehall, it doesn't work. It's not what it is. I think the label, it might change, but right now the label is dancehall fusion or salsa fusion. I think the word fusion gives the impression that everything exists separately, but you've just, for this performance, put it together.
You fuse it with different styles. I guess it's not.
But you haven't commercialized the style.
And
that's the difference. And we can nitpick at that word, but it's really important, and it's really, really reinforced, and it's really frowned upon, especially in the dance world. I can't talk for a lot of the world, but it's really detrimental to like preserving, and it's so important for dancehall practitioners to preserve dancehall culture. It's their culture, it's their life. When I say you go to Jamaica for dancehall, they live, eat, sleep, and breathe it. They don't go to their weekly bass class. They wake up 6 a.m, boom, 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 speakers going, you're looking out, they're doing their step. They live, eat, sleep, and breathe it. The street parties every single day, studio every single day, on the side of the road every single day, and they not even for payment. Just because it's a part of their soul. It's like it's the heartbeat of the country is music and dance, right? So to take that out of its environment, commercialize it, generate money from it, and change it is extremely damaging.
And it's just using it.
And that's the definition of cultural appropriation. So
the way you talk about dancehall is like how I talk about salsa.
Right.
Like, you know, we're so invested in these dance styles, and we put so much effort to learn it properly and travel to the countries and learn about it. And then when you see it done wrong and sold for something, like I see people performing salsa shows, I'm like, you know, it infuriates it. Like, it infuriates me, and I'm not even from that culture.
No, but you've immersed yourself enough to know the detrimental effects of it, right? So you can only imagine where people are from that, and that's been their life from at an early age, like the impact that it has on them.
And then especially when it's put on TV, and as you said,
it
like
spreads the wrong message.
Music videos and stuff, and and people make big money of it. You know, it's one thing somebody teaching about salsa class around the corner, but it's another thing, it being promoted one way on massive TV shows I'm not gonna name.
Yeah, yeah, big ones that we know.
Big TV shows, you know. Yeah, then it just becomes really problematic.
Yeah. And it's like, I'll name Chris Brown, like I said, uses like dancehall steps from people I know worked really hard on those steps. Chris Brown, like not just a little vibe of it, the whole medley of the step, like a whole lot of 8. And it's like, where did you get that from? Like, I didn't see it at the street party. Where did you get that from? Like, social media. Yeah, you weren't there. I didn't see you in Kingston. I didn't see you in Uptown Mondays. Like, where were you? But, you know, he's got this step and the dancehall community was frantically tagging the creator of the step, like frantically trying to get some acknowledgement. Like, this is their step. Like, and it wouldn't run in any other art form, you know? Someone wouldn't design something or a piece of art or invention and then some other celebrity is using it and not crediting and not, you know, it would make anyone mad. But for some reason, when it's dance and movement, people think that they're entitled to steal it.
It's a problem in the dance community anyway. You know, the whole copyright. It's just not as controlled as it is in music.
Yeah.
Maybe it's harder to control, but it is a problem.
Yeah. And then with cultural appropriation, it's that, but with this culture stamp on top, which in itself is biggest problem, you know? So, yeah.
But it seems like you got the right balance in how to...
I've done a full... I've got there in the end. I had to do a lot of, like I said before, when I did my master's, I did a lot of research, did a lot of case studies, interviewed pioneers here, pioneers in Jamaica, practitioners, black, white, anyone in between. Like I managed to talk to a lot of people in both countries and around the world and find kind of where I lie with it and how I should approach the topic, you know, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in your own views and your own experience. And it's not that master's... When I said I did my master's, I didn't do anything I couldn't have done myself, right? It just presented a space where I had to do it for an assignment, right?
Yeah.
But I'm so glad it did because it allowed me to do something I should have done, you know, a long time ago, but I didn't have the time to do. And all of a sudden, you know, I'm talking to people, I'm changing my views on things, I'm getting an understanding of where people are coming from. And all of a sudden, I just really, really clicked in my head, like, how important preserving people's culture is, especially when you're a guest in it, you know, and I saw firsthand how detrimental it can be and, you know, felt the pain of people like that it was happening to. And, you know, it's just something you can't see on your phone and it's something you can't see across the screen. It's something that you've got to experience yourself and speak to people yourself. And then that's why when I've come back, I'm like, right, well, this is what I call myself. This is what these are. Every class now I'm, you know, emphasizing the creators, where it come from. I'm constantly putting their Instagrams on the students' WhatsApp groups. I'm constantly, anytime I get to rewrite a module, like injecting it in there so they know where these other fusion styles come from and where the grounding and the basics are. I had Miss Rose UK, who's like my favorite UK dancehall dancer. She comes in quite often and she taught them dancehall from like basics, like 50s, 60s, 70s, way up to nowadays. And, you know, there's so many steps that they were like, oh, this is in hip hop. Oh, this is like this step. This is this step. And I'm like, yeah, this is where it all comes from. And you had no idea.
Yeah.
And now they're stripping it back to basics with somebody like Miss Rose, who's so passionate about dancehall and she's relaying her passion and putting her heart out there. And they're catching the vibe and they're also acknowledging everything we do on a day-to-day basis in these Hills commercial hip hop classes. Wow, they come from here. Like, then you can really get a feel for what you're doing and how you perform it, right? Because you can't perform dancehall without having knowledge of where it comes from, because you're not going to do it justice. Because, like, you know, they have different steps. Like, for example, they have like badman or gunman steps, right? So that comes out of communities where there's war. It's almost like what crumping is to hip hop, right? Like, if you didn't know crumping was a replacement of violence and stuff, you wouldn't do it right.
Yeah.
So these hardcore steps with a lot of gun fingers and stuff and what they're representing and the area that they developed out. If you didn't know that history and that context, you couldn't possibly do the dance style justice, because you're going to approach it with a different flow and a different vibe and a different performance. And even that knowledge there is going to dilute the style because of how you're doing it as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, not to say you're going to know what it's like growing up in a ghetto community in Jamaica when you're, you know, a girl from Leicester on a dance degree course, but you can do your best. You can do your best to educate yourself and learn from people that can relay that information to you, so you can put your best foot forward when you're acting it, right? Like if you did any other role, you would do your research on who you're playing, what they felt, what they went through at the time, so that you can do that role justice.
Exactly. Like as if you would do an acting.
As if you would do
job.
an acting role, you know? So I think that no one's, when it comes to appreciation and appropriation, no one's expecting you to suddenly become a Rasta from Kingston, you know? But the expectation is there that you value what you're learning enough to do it as much justice as possible whilst acknowledging you're not from that culture.
Exactly. We're not saying you can't do these dance styles. I mean, we're two white girls.
Yeah.
You do dancehall, I do all sorts of dance styles from all over the world.
And we met doing Bollywood, so...
We met doing Bollywood, another thing. Yeah, so we're not saying you can't love these dance styles and do them on a weekly basis in a class and whatever, but just do your research, do it properly. Don't imitate it.
Yeah,
you know?
and give credit back to the source, because that's ultimately all people are asking for from what I've picked up.
But it sounds like that the Jamaicans really picked up on it and are doing something about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of cultural dance styles which don't have those things in place.
Yeah, no, I think
almost
it's been
harder
acknowledged
to give back.
Yeah, it's hard to monitor though. Like, you know, it still
Super
happens.
hard. Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of unity in the dancehall culture now, especially with social media platforms. So people that, you know, like me, who realise the importance, and from around the world, we can do our job where we see it happening, calling it out.
Yeah, do you call it out when you see it online?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not so much of a spokesperson on behalf. I like people to speak that should speak more than I have more. What's the word? Credit to speak on the topic. However, in my space where I do have a voice, I'll make sure that voice is used to express the importance of that and calling it out. Like for example, students constantly tag things that I've done as dancehall that's not dancehall, you know, and I tell them after every class, I'm like, that was a dancehall song by an artist called Vibes Cartel.
Yeah.
However, the dance steps were not dancehall within it. So you are fine to upload it, but please don't call it Chelsea's dancehall class, because it was not dancehall. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
You know, so like it's just like your voice within that little space is important, because before you know it, they've called it dancehall. You know, I had some students once, bless them, they came up to me and they said, they took like 2 classes of my kind of fusion classes, and they said they want to teach dancehall to their college when they go back home in the summer. I said, would you deem yourself qualified to teach ballet after 2 ballet classes? And they were like, no. I said...
That's the thing. I feel like ballet has such a... People know they're not good at ballet when they haven't done it much. And it's so like respected. And I think other dance styles, it's just like, exactly. People go to bar salsa twice and think there's salsa. They put it on their CV, I dance salsa. I'm like, have you ever taken a class? Like, have you learned it properly? You
That's
know?
what I mean. You can't, there's so much more to it.
Yeah.
You know, even some amazing commercial dancers that I teach, they're great. They'll definitely get world tours and whatever, but they do a dancehall class, they struggle. And they get shocked. Well, it's within that bracket of what I already do. It's a very different flow. It's a very different style, and you've never done it before. And that's okay. You just need more lessons on it, but you haven't got it yet because you've just taken a few classes in it. But the expectation, if you're good at commercial street styles and you're going to be good at the things that come under that umbrella, is unrealistic because you haven't got it, but that's okay. You've taken 1 class in it.
Exactly. As I said before, it's okay to be a beginner at a dance style. Just don't sell yourself as like, I know how to do this.
So to you know, bless them, they just loved the classes so much. I wanted to share it. But I just had to, you know, use my voice then to be like, it's not an easy thing to just teach. You can't do 2 classes and then go and teach someone else. That's where the problem lies, because you're going to teach it wrong. They're going to pick it up wrong, and they're going to do the same thing. Yeah. And that's why you got to, you know, put your brakes on now. And I also make sure whenever I teach dancehall to new people or bring a dancehall practitioner in to teach it, that there's an element of a theory side to it, you know, so that there's a part of the class that is just talking, discussing, showing documentaries. Like, there's some great documentaries online that a lot of people in Jamaica that are on it that I know, and it tells you, you know, if you can't go to Jamaica yourself, it gives the best insight into where it comes from, the experience, and the kind of political and social factors that inform the style. And I make sure that that's out there before they do the class, because it's like context, right?
Yeah, it seems like a great way to make them care.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And they often... another teacher heard students say, oh, I wish I was passionate about something like Chelsie as dancehall, because you feel it when she's teaching.
Yeah.
And it's just funny because I never was raised in the dancehall world. I'm not from a particularly multicultural area. I'm from Essex. I was raised doing ISTD and RID ballet. And then all of a sudden, this social love of mine is really taking the forefront of my life. And I think it's just that recognition of dance being fun, dance being passionate, not caring about the likes, not caring if it's perfect. Like, I took a class in Jamaica last summer and I posted it, and the actual guy who took the class, he went wrong in the video. And my students were like, oh my God, he went wrong in the video and he posted it. I went, okay, that was a vibe.
Yeah.
Like, it was a great class. We had fun. And they were like, oh, I would never post a video if I went wrong. And I was like, and that is why I love dancehall. Yeah. And that is why I'm going further away from the styles that you're doing.
It's not about the choreography. It's about the feeling.
It's about the feeling. Yeah. We had such a good class. We were outside. We were in the streets of Jamaica. There was dogs in the background. There was like goats walking around. Yeah. Like, the energy was so vibey, and it just like really reignited like my passion for it. And I literally just took that same class I was talking about. I took 4 students from Creative Academy with me. They were a particular 4 students that always came to my fusion classes, and always took more of an interest socially than some of the other students that were just like, thanks for class, bye. And they would always be like, oh, we want to go to Jamaica, we want to try. Yeah. So eventually they won me over, and I took them and I showed them around Jamaica, and also had doing back-to-back classes when we were out there, and took them to the street parties to see all the street dancing and stuff like that. And they, when I say, fell in love, they caught the bug. They caught the dancehall bug. Yeah. And now they're, going to events, they go into other classes and stuff like that. And I think, yes, they fell in love with Jamaica as a country, but they fell in love with how the classes made them feel. Mm-hmm. They fell in love with not caring what they look like, with dancing without mirrors, dancing at the side of the street, dancing with people that made mistakes and still posted it, dancing in people, whether they're this size, whether they're wearing a little string vest or whether they're in baggy clothes. Like, that is so non-existent in the dance world. What you're wearing, what you look like, how many likes it's got. It's so absent-minded when you're doing it for the love. Mm-hmm. Yeah, do it for the love, we don't do it for the likes. That's a Jamaican song for you, Chronics. But that's true. Do it for the love, we don't do it for the likes.
They must love the people there. They must love seeing you as a white girl doing it properly. Like, yeah,
I mean, when I'm a little tiny ant in their world. Like, there's big companies that go to Jamaica with lots of people from Sweden. Like, us English people, we barely go over there compared to the Swedish love it, the Russians love it, Canadians. Like, there's full of loads of dance groups that go over there, and they are amazing at it. And they've been going for years. Like, some of the girls that go over there, they go 4, 5, 6 times a year, and they delve into it. And they're the people that really, really are doing it right. Like, that are going there. Like, I do it when I can, but there are people that bring 20 people with them to learn, and they have their own.
So they're used to Europeans coming and being really good at it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because in Cuba, not so much. Mm-hmm. Like, they see white people coming over and they want to take a salsa class and they're super stiff, and but then for somebody to come and actually be good at it.
Yeah, I mean, you'll definitely get a big hype up in other areas of Jamaica. Yeah. Like, if I went to some of the tourist areas and started doing some of the steps, they'd go crazy over it because it's unfamiliar in tourist areas, because normally people just go for their little, rum and sun. And that's where it stops. They're not used to it. In Kingston, where I'm talking about, they're very much used to it because most tourism, Kingston does not bring the most tourists there compared to other parts of the island. Yeah. So most people in Kingston, tourists, they're there for dancehall. Mm-hmm. So Kingston as a community, they're used to it. If you look at YouTube videos from street parties way back in the day, there's heaps and heaps of tourists there, doing dancehall well. Japanese people, like that's the hub of it, right? So definitely other areas, if you start busting a little shoulder, they're like, whoa, bomba clap, what? Everyone goes crazy for you. And it feels nice. You feel very welcomed over there, and like definitely feel like they enjoy watching you do it properly and enjoying their style. But in Kingston it's very like, sometimes it's 50-50 in parties with tourists versus at the dancers' parties, right? Yeah. Like people come from all over. It's very common for some really amazing dancers from Europe and America and Canada to be there.
I think you're an amazing example of somebody who just like followed your passion within dance, not knowing that it's going to become a part of your career, you know?
Yeah.
You just loved it. And I think that's really important. Like even if you go through vocational dance training and you do your ballet and your modern and your jazz and stuff, if you have a passion that's in different kind of dance styles, I mean, it served me super well. Having a different kind of skill opened a lot of doors for me, and I think it's the same for you. Yeah,
it does do you really well, because even if you don't teach it, you can bridge that gap, right? Like between the two worlds for other people to follow it as well, right? As a teacher. So yeah, I'm happy that I can facilitate as well as teach it, but I can also facilitate like people experiencing that passion as well, like sharing it. Like I love that the students I took to Jamaica love it now. So I'm like, yes, you get it. Like you get it. I love it. So I love following my passion for me, but also for the next generation of dancers to like see what dance is all about in other countries and get a feel for the vibes in especially Jamaica, my favorite country.
Is there anything that you still want to achieve in your career, like more choreography? Or?
Definitely want to do more choreography. I think sometimes you get in a rut of when you do like a Monday to Friday teaching job, you trying to find fresh choreography constantly and trying to keep inspiring young people is very difficult when you're not feeling inspired yourself, right? So I've definitely made it a task for myself lately to step outside of Creative Academy a bit more, and so I can bring more to the table essentially. So the last kind of week I've been to like 3 dancehall classes, obviously dancehall, myself as a student, which I found really challenging because being on the other side of the fence from just constantly creating and delivering to then having to activate your brain to learn other people's movement, I find really challenging, but it's a challenge that I want to develop more of because it's so important as a teacher. You keep fresh, right? Like otherwise you just keep recycling the same choreography. So I definitely want to do that more. Definitely want to get more into choreography and like I said, challenging my creative side and not just sticking to the same kind of cycle. And yeah, I have got a Jamaica trip booked 4 days after I get married.
Of course you do.
Of course, I get married on Tuesday, fly to Jamaica on Saturday because, I want to take all the classes that they have in the summer. They have like a dancehall Mecca, it's called, which is like an intensive week of training. Yeah. And I can't see it miss me. I might be a wife, but he knew what he was marrying. He knew what he was marrying. Queen. So dancehall queen for life. So yeah, I'm still going to make my Jamaica trip even if I've just got married. And yeah, so I've got that lined up. And again, I'll bring a lot of that knowledge back and a lot of that experience back. And yeah, just keep professionally developing. Sometimes you just don't have time to think what you want to do, right? You just keep living Monday to Friday. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm just doing the same thing. Let me try and experience more. So yeah, definitely broaden my horizons with choreography jobs. Keep developing myself as a dancer as well as a teacher so that I can translate that into my teaching and keep going to Jamaica and living my best life.
Yeah. Well, good luck with all of that.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to your wedding.
Yes.
And thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a great pleasure to have you and learn
I hope I haven't waffled too much. Have I waffled?
Well, we can edit.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We have many more incredible guests and conversations coming up, so please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out. You can find us on all social media platforms under Dance Chat UK. That's the easiest way to get in touch, and we love to hear from you. Also, if you could spread the word and tell your friends about us, we would love to welcome them into our little community. Enjoy your dancing, and I'll see you next time.